something incredibly heartwarming happened. And no, it wasn't a concert, a live stream, or a surprise music drop. It was something even rarer and infinitely more emotional. A quiet, private reunion between Jin and his BTS brothers, Suga, Jimin, and Jungkook, for the first time in over a year. No flashing cameras. No staged performance. Just love, history, and years of unbreakable brotherhood radiating from one room. The reunion marks Jin's first full-circle moment back with his younger members since completing his mandatory military service on June 12, 2024. While fans had already been blessed by his long-awaited hug-filled return at the 2024 BTS Festa, where he met and embraced 1,000 fans just one day after his discharge, this reunion hits differently.
Why?
Because this time, it wasn't for show. It was family reuniting with family, and oh, the way they hugged, according to multiple staff witnesses and a now viral but blurry photo leak. Yes, armies are that fast. The four members spent nearly the entire afternoon together at a private Big Hit building in Seoul. Jin arrived first, dressed casually but glowing with the kind of peace you only get after completing something as intense and soul-shaping as military service. Then came Jimin, running in with that familiar sparkle. Suga, recently recovering from surgery and hiatus, joined quietly, but with that deep smile only Yoongi can give. And then Jungkook, long hair tied back, eyes a little misty, arms wide open, walked in and didn't let go. One staff member reportedly said, "It felt like watching old friends come back from war." There was silence at first, and then suddenly, laughter, tears, and so many inside jokes I couldn't follow. They didn't even need words, their energy said it all. Social media exploded within minutes. Fans trended tags like #Jin is back with BTS, #OT4 reunion, and even the slightly unhinged but deeply emotional #the boys are back. And honestly, that's exactly how it felt. Like the universe realigned. What struck everyone the most was how normal it was, and yet, how monumental. They shared snacks. They watched something on a laptop, some are convinced it's a new MV, others say it was just Jin showing off cat videos. Jungkook reportedly kept clinging to Jin like a human koala. And Jimin? He sat next to Jin the entire time, occasionally nudging him like he still couldn't believe Jin was actually there, and no official press release was issued. No schedules announced. It was just a day. But to armies, it was everything, because when Jin walked into that room, it wasn't just a reunion. It was healing. It was history meeting the present. It was proof that even after uniforms, awards, solos, surgeries, and silence, the love between BTS members remains untouched, unwavering, and unbelievably powerful. And if this is a taste of what's to come with more members returning soon, we're not ready. But we're here, with hearts wide open. As photos and whispered reports made their way across ARMY spaces online, fans weren't just excited. They were emotional. Many remembered the quiet ache when Jin first enlisted back in December 2022, saluting with a shaved head and a proud smile that didn't quite hide the bittersweet goodbye. That moment marked the start of a new chapter for BTS, one filled with individual paths, military obligations, and the long wait for full reunion. But July 24th, 2025, that was the first page of the return. What hit hardest for many was watching Jin finally receive the same kind of warmth he's so often given. As the oldest member, Jin has always played the hyung role with a perfect mix of teasing humor and silent strength. He's the one who made the other members laugh when they were scared, who held them when they cried, and who cheered them on, often from the background. But this reunion was different. This time, the boys were waiting for him, and they wrapped him in all the love they'd been holding in for 18 months. "I don't know what was more emotional," one fan tweeted. Seeing Jungkook cling to Jin like he was afraid to let go, or the fact that Jin just smiled and let him. No words, just family. Another viral post simply read, "This isn't a group, this is forever." The reunion also sparked speculation. Was this just a personal meetup, or the quiet beginning of something bigger? With Jungkook and Jimin actively promoting their solo work and Suga recently recovering, some believe this private gathering could be a planning session for an upcoming OT7 moment, or even the start of Jin's rumored collaboration projects with individual members. No one knows for sure. And honestly, no one needs to, because for one perfect summer day, Jin was back where he belonged, surrounded by people who understand him in ways the world never fully will. There was no stage.
No choreography.
Just four men who once trained in a cramped room with broken mirrors, laughing together again in a room full of history. The way Suga leaned back in his chair to laugh. The way Jimin casually leaned his head on Jin's shoulder. The way Jungkook kept stealing glances like he couldn't quite believe it. Why E.T. IT wasn't for the cameras. It was for them, and somehow that made it feel even more sacred. Later that evening, as the sun dipped low over Seoul and fans continued to refresh social media hoping for a single update, a grainy snapshot surfaced. For silhouettes, one unmistakably Jin, arms draped casually over the shoulders of the others. The moment was barely lit, not staged, and entirely unfiltered. But somehow, it carried more weight than any high-definition photo shoot ever could. Because that single blurry image said everything. Jin was home. There was a quiet poetry to it all. Jin, who had stood before thousands of fans just weeks earlier at the BTS Festa, personally hugging 1,000 people with tears in his eyes, was now the one being embraced by the people who knew him best. In public, he's the sharp-witted, ever-smiling, worldwide handsome icon. But in that room, with Suga, Jimin, and Jungkook, he was just Seokjin, the same guy who once made ramen for everyone at dawn after rehearsals, who always pretended he wasn't crying during award speeches, and who knew exactly when someone needed a joke, or just silence. You could almost hear the room breathing, slow, warm, filled with shared history. The kind that doesn't need explaining. That kind of comfort doesn't come overnight. It's built across years of shared pain, laughter, exhaustion, and victories no one else could ever understand. And that's why this moment felt so overwhelming. Because no matter how many global stages they've stood on, this quiet reunion with no spotlight was where their real story lives. Jungkook, usually confident and composed, reportedly stayed closest to Jin the entire time, trailing him from room to room like a kid who didn't want to lose his older brother again. Jimin kept joking about Jin's post-military glow, but beneath the laughter, there was something more tender in his eyes, like relief. And Suga, ever reserved, simply sat beside Jin, nodding occasionally, that quiet presence offering a depth of welcome that words didn't need to deliver. Even as they parted ways at the end of the day, the air seemed heavier with meaning. Jin reportedly lingered a little longer, walking out just behind the others, turning to look back with a small smile before stepping into the night. No cameras followed him this time. No army chants echoed through the streets. But the love, the kind of love that stood the test of time, service, distance, and fame, was louder than ever because it wasn't just about seeing each other again. It was about remembering who they are when no one else is watching. And for fans, that's more precious than any comeback teaser. This wasn't just a reunion. It was a return to the core. A quiet confirmation that BTS, no matter how scattered across projects, duties, or years, will always find their way back to each other. And when they do, it's not a spectacle. It's home. As the news of the reunion spread like wildfire across fan forums, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and even local news stations in Seoul, it became abundantly clear this wasn't just a touching moment for BTS. It was a global emotional event. For fans who had patiently counted down Jin's 548 days in the military, this reunion felt like closure, hope, and a new beginning wrapped in one silent embrace. The hashtags weren't just trending. They were crying. Armies from every continent shared their stories of waiting, of writing letters, of rewatching old Bangtan bombs just to hear Jin's laugh. And now, here he was again, not just back, but laughing with the boys. Fans translated leaked staff, whispers like holy texts. The blurry photos were dissected like they held clues to the next BTS chapter. And somehow, they did. Because behind every smile in those snapshots, there was a promise. They still have each other. And we still have them. There was one fan post that perfectly captured the collective feeling. It wasn't just Jin meeting the members again. It was us, seeing our comfort come full circle. After the silence. After the waiting. He's really back. And there's still them. Even non-ARMYS, casual listeners, media personalities, and locals in Korea commented on the rare purity of the moment. No camera crews, no staged reunion, no press conference. Just four friends, bonded by years of unimaginable highs and lows, sitting down like no time had passed. That's what makes BTS different. That's why they're not just a K-pop group. They're a phenomenon rooted in something profoundly human: love, loyalty, and resilience.